is month 2 of Hoodoo Witch. This month we're focusing solely on divination methods. Now you may already know a divination method and that is totally awesome. But for many of you, you will be unfamiliar with any style of divination method, whether it be tarot or scrying or any other type of divination work. Maybe for some of you, you could be candle burning already and, for example, understand how to read a candle. That's awesome. This month we're not focusing on burning the candles. We're going to focus on candles and candle burning for an entire month because it's such a vital part, as far as I'm concerned, in the way I teach, of Hoodoo. So we'll be getting into a lot of detail with candle in, I think, about 2 months' time. But this month, I want you to learn a divination method. And the reason why I'm introducing it to you now is because you're going to be adding this to your to-do list and get really, really good at this divination method throughout this course. So by the end of the year, you're an expert at whatever divination method you choose. Now, I know we're all busy, so at least try and learn one divination method. But if you can, it's really good to learn two. For example, I really like the scrying mirror, but I also really enjoy using the pendulum. And if I'm doing spell casting, I like to use the tarot card, okay? And also, I don't even consider it a divination method because I've been doing it so long, but it is, and it's looking at photos. So psychometry it's called, and it's when you look at a photo and you get an impression or a feeling that you react on from a photo. So all of those very different styles, but they're all styles of divination, okay? And there's many, many, many more styles. You're more than welcome to choose a different style altogether, but because it is a 52-week course and I have your whole year booked out already on the lessons that you'll be learning, I'm only going to show you 4, and each week you'll touch on each of those methods. So let's talk about your month ahead. This week you'll be practicing psychometry. What that means is that you'll be looking at a photo and seeing what comes up for you. While you might just look at the photo and think, wow, I see nothing here, it's not my thing, I want you to spend maybe your meditation time each day just seeing if you can do it. Don't think that you can't do it, just think, oh, I'm going to try it and see if I can. So changing your mindset about it, and spend 5 to 10 minutes each day just seeing if you can just relax into the photo. See if you can hear anything. See if anything comes up for you. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe this isn't your sixth sense getting this type of message. But really just try and get some impressions and images. I personally use this method when I ask people for details about the spell that they want. If I'm casting for someone else, I'll want a photo of them. I want a photo of their target. I want dates of birth and things like that too. But looking at someone's image and feeling the impressions that comes up, it really gives me a strong connection to the target. So is that a divination method, getting a message from a spirit? No, it's probably not in the same class of like tarot cards, but at the same token, if you're not great at tarot cards, you need to be able to have other methods up your sleeve for connecting to that individual or spirit. So this is why week 1, I've asked you to look at the photos, see what comes up for you, and take some notes in your journal about that. The next week, I'll be asking you to really focus in on scrying. So, for example, scrying, oh, my incense has gone out. The scrying mirror, such as this one, okay, this one here, it's just like glass, so you can use your own, you can use your own painted glass if you want to do painted glass, a dark reflective surface of some type, maybe a bowl with water in it. But the key to a scrying mirror isn't having it straight on. you don't want to be looking straight up at the mirror. You want it slightly slanted. And that's why like having it on a frame such as this is a really good idea. It's not like looking at a mirror on the wall. You want it slightly slanted, and to be, when you're looking into it, like the same as if you're looking into the photo, your eyes are softened and you're really looking like I'm looking into the mirror at me, but my gaze is to the side. So I've softened my gaze. And when you see spirits in these type of mirrors, you'll often see them off at the sides. And the idea isn't to look at that side where you think you've seen the spirit. Just keep your gaze quite softened, and that's when you can start asking questions. Now, I'm not going to pretend and say it's totally comfortable when you start seeing spirits in these mirrors, or when you start hearing. Remember, don't expect, if you're hearing stuff, a really clear voice. What you'll hear is really, it's going to sound like your own thoughts in your head. This is a difference between just starting out and doing it regularly, so you can tell the differences between your own thoughts and the spiritual messages. And it's not instant. It needs practice. You need to practice this stuff. So this entire week, every day, I want you practicing using the scrying mirror. So this is a scrying mirror. When you get it home, or even if you're using a bowl, if you're using for example, when I'm at my vacation property back in Australia, I've got a piece of glass, a glass back mirror window that faces onto the yard, and the yard is pitch black at night. So I'm actually able to use that window as a makeshift scrying mirror when I'm away and I don't have all my tools with me. It's really quite good. In saying that, the glass is straight up, right? So, but I've been doing this for a while. I'm used to seeing like all of these images around me and so forth. But you can also use a bowl of water. You could use anything with a reflective surface, really. I mean, but if you're using a scrying mirror and you get it home, oh, my incense still didn't light. Seriously. When you get any type of spiritual object home, or a tool for spiritual purposes, you want to either, you could put, consecrate it with salt water or over smoke or flame. And what you're really asking it to happen is that any old negative energy to be removed from this device and give it an intentional purpose. I'm using this for the purposes of receiving spiritual messages, and may all the messages I receive from this scrying mirror be true and honest. So mote it be. That is just, you don't have to say that verbatim. That's just what I say. And now this is a tool that it has purpose. It's consecrated and it has purpose. And then it'll be, no one else will touch this, and it will sit normally on my working altar. So that's a scrying mirror. You know what? I just looked at my iPhone. That is it. Look at the reflection on that. If I turn my phone off, that could even be a scrying mirror. How about that? I just thought about that. What an idea. We all have one of these things, right? So there's an instant scrying mirror you can try. All right, the week after, week 8, we'll be looking at the tarot. Tarot is not a new concept, is it? Everyone's heard of the tarot cards. They're terribly popular. I have a couple of tarot decks. This is the one I use quite often. Most often, actually. It's a Tarot Illuminati. I really like the images. And the other one is quite new. It's Crowley's Thoth deck, one of the oldest decks around. But you might go for the Rider-Waite deck. That's extremely popular. So I will leave that up to you to look at how I'm not going to teach you tarot. Tarot itself, if I had to teach you tarot, that's going to take months and months and months. The idea is for you to find a divination method. My goal is to introduce you to several divination methods, and then you learn that either in your own time, or you put extra effort in during this course to make sure you're learning a specific method. So each week I'll touch on a method, but it's up to you to dig deeper and then learn about each one of those methods in detail over the course of this year. So if you are choosing tarot as your method that you really wanted to focus in on, I would choose a tarot deck that really calls out to you. That could be a process itself, and then learn by looking at the book in that deck, okay, of the various spreads and so forth, okay, which tarot spread really suits you, and follow other videos and so forth, and learn about that tarot deck and become friends with that deck. For this course, because many of you already know tarot, I've given you some instructions of using the normal plain deck of cards. That's quite popular in conjure because people that were traditionally starting off in conjure didn't have a lot of money, nor were these fancy new age decks available to them. So they used plain cards. And so I introduced that in this week's lesson for everyone to enjoy. However, you don't have to use the deck of cards system. I suggest that if you're going to use tarot, you spend this week really looking at a tarot deck you like and starting to get into learning that system. Okay, and tarot is really quite good. It can take a long time to learn. That's why I'm introducing you to this and telling you need to do it and become, put it in your schedule every week from now on. But you can get really good readings from this. And if you need to ask me more questions about what I suggest that's important to you, I'm more than happy to answer those questions, okay? And then if we all agree that I need to teach people tarot, then we'll do a video section or maybe a bonus section on that if so necessary, okay? But if you're not interested in tarot, I don't want to bore the crap out of you by spending weeks and weeks and months teaching tarot, because it can take away from this huge year that we've got in front of us, right? And then the fourth week is the pendulum. The pendulum is totally cool as well. Let me just get some room here. The pendulum, it's not hard to learn. So even if you're going to be swamped learning the tarot or scrying, or even looking at the photographs and trying to read the images off that, tarot can give really good yes or no answers. I suggest it to my students of other courses, because when you learn to tune in and your pendulum becomes tuned into you, when you ask questions, it can give you really quick, and it's saying yes. So this is really highly tuned in to me, this pendulum. And I keep it in a box full of, full of rocks, my little spiritual stones here that have come around the world with me. And I add to and I cleanse these stones, and it sits in there, highly charged, only I touch it. But this pendulum I use, for example, if I'm talking to a spirit and I need some really straightforward answers, I'll use the pendulum to get those answers, those yes or no responses. Should I do it this way or that way? Okay, I should do it this way, fine. So we'll talk about that. And once again, if you have questions about that, just ask me. It's one of my passions. I love the pendulum. Also, I'll suggest these pendulum mats can be really fun too. They're really cheap. They're not necessary, but they're really cheap. So when you're learning and you tune into your pendulum, of course I'm not tuned in right now, but what you do is that the answer will come through like this, yes or no, right? So should I eat lasagna for dinner? No. Should I eat pizza instead? Yes. And most of the time, if you ask a stupid question, it'll come up with will not answer or rephrase. Rephrasing is really an awesome option, because sometimes we don't know what to ask, and while the pendulum wants to give us an answer, it may not. It's basically politely telling you to say, ask your question in a better way. And I need that too, because sometimes I stumble around with my words, or I don't really know what to ask, and it's saying, ask a better question, say that in a different way. Would you like to rephrase that? And so that's what it's really good for. So now you can see why we need a whole month going through some of these divination methods. I didn't want to throw in candle burning or reading the candle or reading the flame this month, because as you can see, you really need a week to get into each of these methods and decide which one of these you should continue throughout the journey of this course. So I hope you really enjoy learning a divination method this month. Bye for now.